Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Crew First Culture podcast. My name is Jeremy. Thank you very much for spending some time with me today. Hopefully, you are staying warm. Right now, we're getting hit pretty hard with a winter storm, one that I don't know that I've been a part of, at least in my memory. And it's not snowed near as much as they were anticipating. They were saying that our area would get around 12 to 18 inches of snow. I think at this point we're probably sitting around six-ish, maybe a little bit more, but not too bad. It's just been super, super cold. And what makes it worse is right now we've got at least, I think the count right now is 8 baby goats that have been delivered here in the past probably 3 weeks. And so definitely a concern when the temperatures are in the negatives and wind chills are in the negative teens and 20s. So that's been a struggle and has definitely kept myself and really all of us pretty busy. But good thing is, if you're listening to this, you haven't froze to death, so that's a good deal. I know that we've got a lot of bum people out there right now as well, because a lot of flights and travel plans have been canceled, and this is right about the start of HROC in Pensacola. And so I know several people that are not happy with that, and that sucks, especially with the just in the past year that we've all had. A lot of plans have had to be canceled. A lot of conferences have canceled because of the obvious reasons that everything has been canceled, and now trying to get back to normal, and the weather is hitting you hard. So if it's not one thing, it's something else. And so for anybody out there that is missing your chance to get back into the swing of things with conferences and looking forward to all that, and that are their plans got canceled, I apologize for that, and that you hope that you find something else to do with that time that you're going to really enjoy. But anyway, getting into today's topic, and it's just really, I'm pretty sure last week I said that it's kind of bled over from the topic before that, and really it's exactly what I'm going to say this week. I had wrote some notes kind of before I started recording last Monday's podcast about making the difficult decisions, when decision making sucks, when all of your options are bad options, but you still have to make the choice. And really, they weren't even notes. It was 2 words, empathy and perspective. It's kind of what I was trying to kind of blend into that conversation, because it had something to do with that story, and the story that I told of my daughter and I's conversation, and I just never got to either one of those. And so that's good, because I think that those need more time than just kind of being touched on in a podcast about something else. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, and mainly perspective. And so, like I said, that was kind of a thought, and it was brought up last week, but some other things as well have made it come to mind. And so one of those, and really the main thing, comes from a Jocko podcast. And now that I'm sitting here talking about it, I can't remember which one it was, so I apologize for that. But it was Dave Burke, who is a regular on the podcast, who I'm going to speak of. And this is basically, and I'm paraphrasing it because I'm basically writing this stuff down as I'm listening to it, so it's not word for word. And I'm probably going to change a little bit, just because to make it sound like something I would, to make it sound like something that makes more sense to me. But I will give credit to Dave Burke, and because he is who said it, and definitely don't want to take credit for it. But anyway, basically what he said, in kind of my paraphrase words, are, it's so easy to create a narrative in your head about how dumb, the decisions that somebody made were, or how lazy so and so is because this doesn't ever get done, or we come on shift and blank crew, they never do this, or they always leave this a mess. And like I said, I am definitely paraphrasing into my own perspective, my own life circumstances, because that is something that is talked about all the time. And so I'll kind of finish what he said. Basically, I'll just read it as close to his version as I can, and then I will make it my own. So going back through it, it's so easy to create a narrative in your head about how dumb others' decisions were, or how lazy they are, when you aren't only seeing their perspective. So basically what he's saying is, when you're only seeing your perspective, it's easy to create that conversation in your head. And he says, since there are differences there, since there's a difference in the decisions that were made compared to what you would have made, or the decisions to not do something that you felt should have been done, then you automatically go to, they were the ones messing up. They were the ones making the mistake. And they were wrong. And then he says, but the minute that you spend time on the other side, it's quickly revealed that you were the one that was wrong. And so that's kind of my thing. And I really enjoyed kind of what thought processes that brought to me, because I am somebody that has spent time on, a couple sides of that fence. If you are speaking to firefighters, if you are a firefighter that has never been on a different shift, your perspective will definitely be different than somebody that has spent time on multiple shifts. And if you're someone that has spent time on multiple shifts, but it's been a while since you changed, then you've probably drifted back into that same one-sided mindset. But speaking as somebody that has been on, multiple shifts, I've been switched between shifts and stations several times through my career. It is so funny to be a part of one shift at a particular station and always have something to gripe about the other shifts not doing, and then being changed to another shift at that same very station and hearing their gripes about the shift that you were just on. It blows my mind that we always have something to gripe about with somebody else, and I see that every single day. And I don't know that you could pick out a crew anywhere on any shift that doesn't have something to gripe about somebody else. It's just, maybe that's just how we are. We like to pick other people apart and find their faults. And I'm not saying it's not warranted. Like I said, we do that all the time, even currently. It's something that I'm really trying to get away from, because I know that there are things that we do that the other shifts gripe about. I don't know what they are, but I guarantee you there's something we do. And so, if that's warranted or not, I don't know. I hope it's not, because I feel like we try very hard to kind of, we clean the station pretty good. We try to throw away our trash. I don't allow just trash to be left around. I feel like we pick up after ourselves pretty well. I feel like we fuel the rigs pretty, we're pretty respectful for that. Most of the things that we find to gripe about other shifts, I feel like we do pretty good. But maybe that only means that those are the things we pay attention to, which means others not doing them is more glaring to us. But maybe that other shift has a whole nother set of things that are important to them that they do all the time, but we don't. Hopefully that makes sense to you. So I'll just pick out a couple for each. So for us, just keeping the station clean and making sure that if the rigs need fuel, we fuel it up, no matter if it's middle of the night, no matter, it doesn't matter. And so those just going to, picking two things out to try to simplify it. So we try very hard to make sure those are done. And so when other crews don't do those two things, it's very easy to get upset about that, because we just went last shift and at 3:00 in the morning on the way back from a call and got fuel. And I'm just making this up. We got fuel because it needed fuel. But every time we come in after so-and-so shift, it always needs fuel. Why can't they do it if we're doing it in the middle of the night? Okay, yeah, I know everybody has heard this conversation, but if we look at this other shift that we're griping about, maybe, and I'll make it up too for them, maybe their kind of things are that trying to throw something out of my head here real quick. Maybe their things are that they want the rig washed no matter what, and they want all of the hose to be rolled and nice and neat everywhere. Okay, so that's important to them, and they always make sure those things are done. Maybe that's not as important to us, so we don't really see those things as we just don't pick them out as easy. So that right there creates the rift. If it's obviously something that needs to be done, like a really nasty truck, okay, we're probably likely to clean it. But if it's just a little dusty, maybe we overlook that. But maybe it's so important to them that they don't even accept a dusty rig. And that's why they get upset, because why doesn't that other crew wash it? Because it's dusty. I hope that I'm hope the scenarios I'm playing out here make sense. But that is perspective. That is perspective is such a big deal. And what becomes really interesting is if I am on my crew, I'm on red shift, and I get transferred tomorrow to green shift, and green shift is the crew that loves to keep their rig super clean and their hose all nice and neat. And so, I've just spent 2 years griping within my crew about them not doing the things that are important to us and the things that we do all the time. So I go to green shift tomorrow and I find out, dang, they're griping about red shift all the time. What else? I don't think there was anything for anybody to gripe about, because we always, kept the station up. We kept fueling the rigs, and those were the things that we griped about other people about. But come to find out, we were neglecting a lot of things that just didn't stand out to us, because just personalities, just upbringings, whatever, they just didn't key in on us as much. But as soon as you cross that line to that other shift, you realize very quickly that you were getting griped about just as much as all of the griping that you were doing about others. And so that's kind of what I want to point out about his statement. And his statement is, It's obviously, it's not a firefighter driven statement. And this is not a statement that is only a firefighter statement. This could be anybody. This could be somebody in a big company that has an R&D department, has a sales department, has, all these other departments. And, the R&D department always gripes about the sales department because they are so-and-so, and they don't understand why it's always like that. And the sales department is always griping about the R&D department because, it's always this and that, and this is getting left undone. And it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter where you are. If we look, we have things that we gripe about. We don't have to try that hard to look around to find things to gripe about. I guess that's a better way to say it. They're there. It's very easy to find things to gripe about. It's very easy to find ways to make us feel better about ourselves because of all the things that other people are struggling with, all the things that people are neglecting, the bad choices other people are making, the lazy choices other people are making, all of those things. If that's what you're looking for, it's not hard to do. But are those really being honest and truthful with yourself? Because if you're honest and truthful with yourself, as quickly as you start looking at somebody else messing up, or somebody else being lazy, or somebody else not fulfilling their end of the bargain, you could just as easily find something that you're doing that is pretty equal to the same, mistakes that you're making, choices that you've made that seem lazy to other people. And this could go on and on and on and on. And so that's kind of what I want to point out today is perspective. And like I said, starting out, to go along with that perspective, to help kind of gain some maturity in this process and gain some, I don't know, empathy. Empathy is a big deal too. And when you add it into this conversation, it will help you with that perspective. And so by that, I mean, so I'm on Redshift, and my guys are griping about this and that, about what didn't get done the previous day. Maybe we need to put ourselves in their shoes and kind of see what happened. Maybe they ran 4 or 5 calls, in between times that they were training, in between times that they were trying to study, or, doing something that they had to do. I don't know. I'm making all this stuff up. So just insert whatever details you want to insert. But maybe we need to stop for a second and figure out if there's something else going on. If we're upset about something that's going on within our crew, maybe we need to put ourselves in their shoes and see if there's a bigger deal happening, if there are more details that we need to kind of straighten out, if there are things that we need to be understanding about, gaining empathy for others. If you can empathize with others, you're probably going to have a pretty good perspective of others. You're probably not going to be as hard on others as somebody that doesn't do empathy real well. And so it's just kind of it's a big piece of all this. I wrote a little article last year. I believe it was one that Corley Moore published on his Firehouse Vigilance page, but it's basically about perspective. And it was really a situation that I learned, I grew. It was a personal growth moment, and kind of revolved around a lesson that my wife kind of taught me. And I was in a bad spot attitude wise. I had a terrible attitude. I was angry, And really, when it came down to it, when she helped me realize what was going on, the situation that I was living through was really a situation that spoke to everything that I have been saying, you know, through social media and leadership about training people. Uh, I can't put this stuff out. I can't say this stuff and not expect to get tested by it and not expect to live by it. I just can't do it. I had to change my perspective. And, one of there was a quote I found that I actually put in that article, and I wanted to say it. So this is by Stephen, I believe it's Furtick, but he says, your perspective will either become your prison or your passport. And I think it's a really good quote. Your perspective can be a perspective of negativity, of you are in the right, everybody else is in the wrong, about the world is so bad right now, and everything sucks, and on and on and on. You can keep going and keep going and keep going. The world will fuel that as far as you will let it fuel it. And that is going to be a prison, because until you decide to break free from that and gain a different perspective, start looking for the positives, start living a more positive life, you will be held prisoner in that world. And so by gaining, more of a open perspective, gaining more of a search for positivity instead of negativity, that is that passport to take you wherever you want to go. One of I found a picture on the internet that I put into this article, and I just think it's interesting, but it's really basically two cartoon characters. One is on one side of the picture, one is on the other, and there's a big number right in the middle of them. And so one of them, it's a 9 or 6. Basically it's the same thing. But if you look at it from the perspective of one of the people on the, say the left, it's a 6. If you look at it from the other perspective of the other person on the right, it's a 9. And that's kind of, there's a little bubble above each of them. And they're saying, it's a 9 and it's a 6. Who's right? They're both right, because from their perspective, that's exactly what it is. Both of them are right, and neither one of them are wrong. And maybe that's the lesson within the lesson right there, is that there doesn't always have to be a wrong. Maybe both sides of the story are right. It's not like a rule, one of these unbreakable in stone rules that every conversation has a right and it has a wrong. Every little discussion or every debate has a right side and a wrong side. That's not always the case. Is it the case sometimes? Yes, obviously. But is it always the case? No. Maybe sometimes both sides of the story are right. Maybe sometimes both sides of the debate are right. They're just right coming from a different perspective. And so this is just it's a big conversation. It's a big thought process, and it is a big deal to us. I've seen another kind of illustration to demonstrate perspective, and it's like I believe what I've seen mostly is two people in a train. One person is looking out the window and all they see is, and they're different every time, so all they see is basically just a desert, or just basically nothing good, and they're just looking like they're sad because all they see is this very eye-pleasing thing. But then you look on the other side of the train, right across the hall or right across the aisle, and this person is seeing mountains and, beautiful things, and they have a smile on their face and really enjoying what they're seeing. And so, obviously these are just illustrations, but I think they're really, really good illustrations to help us to think, to help us to really realize how important these things are. So all that person has to do over there that's looking at, a blank cliff or a vast desert or just nothing that is pleasing to look at, all they have to do is turn their head and look out the other windows. Or maybe, how about this? Take a step outside of their comfort zone and get over to that other side of the aisle and look out the windows from right there next to the other person. And so these are things that I really love to think about, because I need to think about them a lot. I need to go over this in my head. Like I said, I wrote an article about this less than a year ago. I can't remember when I wrote it, but it's definitely been less than a year ago. And I feel like I am still needing to learn these lessons over, or even better, one of the two, probably both. I need to learn them more, and I need to learn them completely over. It's not something like riding the bike. When you cross that barrier, okay, I know how to ride a bike now, and that's it. It's not like that. You have to keep going back to these things. You have to keep learning these lessons. You have to keep focusing on them, remembering the things you learned, remembering to keep just keep looking forward, looking around. And so hopefully, like always, I always get to this point in the Monday episodes, and I feel like, man, I said some things that hopefully will help people, or I completely stammered along and made no sense to anybody. So I don't know. I hope that I said something that will trigger a little thought in you, because like I always say, these are just great lessons to talk about. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not saying anything mind blowing. I'm not saying anything new or proprietary. This is just stuff I've learned from others. This is just stuff I've heard from others. These are lessons that I am learning right now myself. And so I feel like I need to share them with others, because I know there are others out there that need to hear it. I know there are others out there that need to learn it, and just to sit and spend some time thinking through these things. And so hopefully I said something that will trigger some thoughts with you. Hopefully I said something that might be a good discussion point for your family or your crew, or just yourself, just to sit and get some introspection. Think about where you are and where you want to be, where you need to be. And so I will leave you with that. I hope you have a great week. Big guest I got coming up this week. I still am trying to figure out what to do with his episode. I have Rick George. I recorded with him last week, ended up being like 3 hours long. And so I think what I'm going to do is break that apart into 2 episodes. So look for that first episode with Rick this Thursday. And I'm still just, Rick is just one of those people, and I'm trying to find these kind of people, because he's such an inspiration. He has such a great story. And there are so many people like that out there. There are so many people that we can learn from, that we can be inspired from, that have beaten, so many odds, have just overcome challenges, have lived through lives that most of us couldn't even imagine. And so, please stay tuned for that. He is definitely somebody that you want to soak up as much as you can hear from. And so got that coming up. Have several other guests that trying to kind of nail down, that are right there with them, just great people that I really want to learn more about. And I know there are people out there that need to hear their stories. And so I will leave you with this. This is another quote, and I don't know that I ever found a name for it, but this is something else that was in my article. But it is a great, great quote, and it is a great piece to end with. So I'll say this: not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear the path. And that's another perspective. Are you seeing these storms of your life as things that are just negative, that are things that are just tearing your world apart? Or are you seeing them as, man, maybe this bad situation is here for a reason. Maybe I'm going through this for a reason, because it's going to create opportunities down the road. And so, like I said, that's just another piece of this perspective, conversation. So anybody out there, if you're going through the storms, and I'm not just talking about the winter storms right now, if you're going through storms in your life, keep fighting, keep your head up, reach out for help, whatever you need to do to keep going. But understand that what you're going through, it's not just for nothing. There is a reason you're going through what you're dealing with right now. And even though you might not know it right now, you might not see it, one day you will see it. One day you will have the opportunity come to you, and it will be a very eye-opening experience that, man, I get to choose to use that situation for good. I get to use that situation that I suffered through. It was so difficult for me to help somebody else. And so just hang in there, keep going. We're going to make it through. Just keep looking for the positive. We're going to keep pushing, and we're going to make things better. We're going to help others. We are going to do what we were here to do. We are here for a purpose, and that's what we are going to find. And so I hope you have a great week. Look forward to having you back Thursday. Please share, just rate anything you can with the podcast. I really appreciate everybody out there that is spreading my message. I can't say how much I appreciate it enough. I appreciate Woods Forcible Entry Door Kits for sponsoring the show. Please look them up. Great product, great guys. Till Thursday, stay safe, everybody. Stay humble and do work. Thank you.